What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to be continuing the subject started in the previous video. If you haven't watched it, make sure to go and check it out, as they are both looking at the same thing, which is the basics regarding hero combos and heroes and how to analyze them and better understand what to use for your castle. In this one we're gonna be taking a look at stats and troops, so let's not waste any more time, kick in the intro and begin. Okay, so if you've watched my previous video, then you already know that the general misconception is that players tend to just look at the combo as being the best out there, not thinking that it's gonna be different depending on which other heroes you're attacking or the goal you have with that combo. And in today's video we're gonna continue in the same direction, but more look at how to analyze the stats and take in consideration the stats of your castle and the enemy's castles to better understand what legions you want to be using or what heroes. So let's first discuss troops. Now, especially nowadays where we have the DM, there's a lot of mixed legions going around, and because of that, players again tend to forget that it's not about the best legion out there, but what's best for you. Now, generally players, especially free-to-play players, will be focusing all their technological upgrades and all their other buffs on one specific troop type. And that is a good thing to do, because as a free-to-play player you don't have that much room to develop everything, and it's better to just focus on one thing and make it really good than focus on everything and just be mediocre all over. So it's a good thing, but then again players also forget about it. And when you see a mixed legions, like I've gave example in the first video regarding Sakura, Rosen and Spectral, and Rosen, Warden and Ranger, then troops is a very important factor to take in consideration, because one combo uses more archers and the other combo uses more cavalry. Now, generally players tend to focus all their attention on cavalry, and for good reason, because cavs simply have more good heroes available and are faster, have more load, so it's very easy to just go into that direction. And that's one thing that you need to take in consideration, because even though we discussed how the Ranger combo would defeat the Spectral combo, it also depends on how developed the troops are, because the Ranger combo has two cavalry heroes, where the Spectral combo has two archer heroes, which means you're gonna have way more stats available because all your upgrades are focusing on cavalry from the Ranger. So even if, for example, I would be against a legion that I would normally lose, so let's say a combo that defeats another combo counter, you also take in consideration the stats, because that counter is only available if we're talking about the same stats. But the moment my cavalry has more stats than the enemy's archer, then suddenly that difference goes in a different direction. And this is something players do tend to forget when they are looking at what combos to use. Take in consideration what you are focusing on and try to always build your combos around that. Even if some archer combos will be definitely good for you, do make some tests with your other cavalry combinations, because you might find out that even though one hero combo is better, because of the difference in stats from the troops you have, the other one would work better for you. For example, as much as I said I like to use the Sakura, Rosen, Spectral combo, I did change my stats in the castle. I've put my national quest cards to be both for cavalry and archers. My red spec is both covering archers and cavalry, and I'm trying to go with my development in the technology also on both sides. So this is why it's still viable for me to use it. But if I would just have everything regarding cavalry, then most probably the results would show that using the ranger would be more efficient for me during battles against other enemies. Now, besides troops, there's also the different stats, and it's very important for players to understand how to categorize stats in Rise of Empires before thinking of what combos to use. I'm sure a lot of you have faced the situation where you are against a legion that normally yours would counter it and would win the battle, but somehow you lost. And 99% of the time is stats. That other 1% is just luck. It just happens. But let's focus on stats. It's important to know the importance of stats and what to be focusing on depending on what you're planning to use. And for that, let's categorize stats by ranking which one is the best one, which one is the least important one, and in what situations do they matter. Now, when it comes to stats, I think the most important stats you can get is a combination between damage and HP. And I'm saying combination because they're kind of both doing the same thing. They're both the most important stats you can have, and the reason why they're together is because they do the same thing opposite around, like they counter each other. The more damage you have, the more damage you're gonna be delivering and killing the troops, so the HP counters it as much as the damage counters the HP, and this is why I put them together. And the reason why damage is more important than stats like might, or resistance, or tactical might and resistance is because it's gonna be calculated at the end of everything. So no matter how you put the might together and the tactical might together, the damage you're gonna be delivering is gonna be put as one unit, and then that 10% extra damage you're gonna give is gonna be applied to all that. And it's important because your legions will never deal true one single type of damage. You have, for example, legions like the Beast Queen combo that focuses mainly on basic attacks, but Immortal still deals a lot of his damage as skill damage. You also have the Saint combo. There you have the exact opposite. The combo focuses mainly on skill damage, but you still do also some basic attack damage. Little, but you still do it. And that's why damage bonuses will focus on everything. No matter what legion you use and what combos you use, you will always have that damage buff, and this is why it takes priority over everything else. When it comes to HP, again, it's pretty much the same thing but the opposite way around. When you're dealing damage to a hero, you're dealing damage to its troops. You're always gonna have the maximum amount of troops, thinking about maxed out castles, and each troop has a certain amount of HP. If, for example, you have 7 HP for one single troop, you're gonna need 7 damage to kill it. Increasing the HP would mean each individual troop from the 108,000 troops each hero has is gonna have an extra HP, or 2 or 3 or more. So obviously you're gonna need more damage for each troop itself to be able to kill it and therefore apply the damage. And that's why these two are the most powerful stats you can get in the game, and you should definitely prioritize them over anything else. Now we go to the next one, which is might, resistance, tactical might and tactical resistance. Even though damage surpasses the importance of might or resistance, and HP also has a much bigger impact in the battle than those two, that doesn't mean you should neglect them, because again, the same like with the combos, it's only if we're discussing about the same amount. It's only if we're discussing about castle versus castle that is the same level. But for example, if we're discussing about more tactical might or more might and damage, then you might get more out of that because it's a bigger quantity, even though the value is lower. So it's not to take it lightly that you should just focus on damage. If you have the opportunity between 10% damage and 40% tactical might, then obviously you kind of want the tactical might, because most of the heroes will be dealing skill damage and you definitely want that. So regarding might and resistance, tactical might and tactical resistance, again, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Might resistance apply to your basic auto attack damage. Tactical might and resistance apply to skill damage. Generally, I want to always prioritize tactical might, and the reason behind it is because pretty much every hero and the majority of heroes focus all their damage on the skills they use. Even things like Spectral or Ranger that are based on those basic attacks, they still do a lot of their damage as skill damage. So tactical might is definitely gonna increase that value a lot, and this is why I prioritize it over normal might, even though I still use combos like the Beast Queen combo, like Archer combos and so on, other combos that do use a lot of basic auto attacks. Tactical might still takes the bigger value for it. And obviously tactical resistance, again, for the same reasons. Most of the combos use skill damage, so you want tactical resistance to reduce the damage from the enemy's skills. When it comes to might and resistance, again, not to be undervalued, it's important to also know what combos you're going to be using. If we're looking at, for example, Beast Queen combo during Rock and Eden, where you are forcing poison tiles and you need that as much damage as possible to make sure you kill the tile troops as fast as possible, then things like might do make a big difference, considering the combos you're using are burst damage focused on basic auto attacks. But again, even though the combo focuses on basic auto attacks, Immortal still does skill damage, so not to take that away from it. So the overall ranking for these stats, you have damage and HP as the most important stats, then tactical might and resistance, and then last but not least, might and resistance. Again, as I explained, each is situational depending on what combos you're planning on using with them, but this is the general value for each stat. And with this, I kind of covered the subject for this one. Again, it's important for you guys to see the first video and this one to better understand the basics of what you should be looking at before focusing on the heroes. But now we are ready to finally start discussing hero combos and heroes in general, and I will be doing that in the upcoming videos, so make sure to subscribe to not miss out on anything. And if you did find it useful, please leave a like at this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.